Good morning. Today's Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. Yesterday was Sunday, and I did the unusual thing for me of making a trip to Roaring Spring on a Sunday afternoon. Well, I did that because I don't know if I'd mentioned this before, but I'm now a member of the Roaring Spring Historical Society, officially a member, and were way understaffed for the arrival of a steam engine train bringing many passengers yesterday, and they weren't desperate for help, but there were only going to be, they weren't sure. As it turned out, there were four of us. Yeah, two men, a woman, and myself were there. But the train has a staff of its own. I mean, there's the conductors, and they serve ice cream once they get off the train, and very, very nice. And I decided, I better go. Because I can free up the time. And I was real interested. I wanted to see it. Well, when I got there, I wish I remembered to bring my camera, because that is so dramatic to be standing there and seeing this steam engine steaming its way up toward you. Oh, it's beautiful. But the next time I go, I'll be sure to have my camera to capture that. But anyway, two videos related to that. The first one is a little alarming, to tell you the truth. I didn't know. I asked what is there I can do? It's the first time I was there to help, and they said, well, we put the chairs out and we bring the chairs back in and this and that, and the one of two policemen in the borough usually is there and help with the traffic, and so it was kind of informal. So I just watched to see what I could do, learning as I was going. Then people started to get off the train. And I thought, well, I can look and see how they're doing coming down very, very steep steps on that train with places to grab on both sides. And I thought, well, I'll just stand there and see if anybody needs help coming off there. Well, I was by the last car in the train, and here it turned out that car, don't want to say it was full, but there were a lot of very handicapped people in that car. I don't want to say severely handicapped, but that needed wheelchairs or really had trouble walking. And they were coming down these steps. And I thought, wow. There wasn't even enough conductors to be at every outlet of the train. So there was a conductor nearby, but he had to look at everything. And I thought, here's my role. I'm going to stay here and see if I can prevent a disaster. These people, very bravely, really, they would turn around and back their way down these steps. And many of them would have a drink in their hand, a plastic bottle in one hand, and they almost all had somebody else with them. But that other person could either be in front of them or behind them, and the other person was struggling too. So I stood by there, and I ended up. In some cases, I put my hands up against the helper, just in case she or he would come backwards on that. It could have been, if the handicapped person had let go or fallen, they couldn't have stopped them, because most of these people weighed a good bit more than I do. So I said to him, I'm back here. I'm gonna keep you from falling backwards. I talked to him because I didn't know if I'm allowed to touch him. I didn't know, but I didn't want to see someone get really hurt. And I thought, if worse comes to worse, at least I'll give him something to land on me. I'm nursing a broken rib too. That didn't help. At one point I thought, what am I doing? Because some of them actually they physically needed to be helped down off those steps, and they were heavy. And whoa, this isn't right. But anyway, they all got off safely. But anyway, I after it was over and they were all going down to the spring dam and eating their ice cream, I went and talked to one of the conductors, and I said, boy, that final car was full of handicapped people and severely. And I explained the situation. She said, "Yeah, we know it's a problem. We're working on that." Well, anyway, I told the historical society people too and said, "Oh yeah, they'll be there." And all. Well, it turned out when the train left, it was much easier for them to get up because they could see where they were going. They didn't have to turn around backwards, and it wasn't too bad to load them. Well, I'm going to call the train company, the Everett Railroad company, and I'm not going to file a complaint, but I just want to make sure that they know that was a really dangerous situation there. And there's a solution to it. Right there's a freestanding, heavy, massive, really, set of steps going in, I think, 3 directions, and just as high as the floor of the train. That is the old time. It must have been there for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years, I don't know. And I often wondered, what was that for? But and clearly it had something to do with getting on and off the train for freight carrying packages or something like that. And there's a handicapped access to that train right there. But it doesn't have any railings on it, and it doesn't have like a piece of boilerplate or something as a drawbridge kind of to reach over to go onto the train. But it's really all there, and it wouldn't have been hard at all to get these handicapped people down these normal steps. But the steps on the train were like that. I don't know, maybe you know. So anyway, I was relieved, and I thought, I wonder how they get them off down there at Hollidaysburg, because getting them on wasn't too bad. Getting them off was something else. I wish I weighed about 100 pounds more than I do, or if you had some. I even talked to a couple passengers that were, healthy, strong looking, and I said, you look like you're pretty strong. Maybe you could get on last in case somebody in front of you needs help. But the one I spoke to, I'm not so sure he spoke English. It looked like he was from India, but somewhere, with his family, and they weren't. I think he spoke English, but they weren't. Whatever he. I don't know if he quite understood me, but most of them weren't that buff. What you needed was the high school football team there, or wrestlers or something like that to be standing by, which is not a bad idea for volunteers. So anyway, that's the one thing, and I'll make a call. I'll probably send an email, and I'll make a call to the Everett Railroad, partly to remind them that there is a handicapped accessible set of stairs right there. They just need railing and a drawbridge. All right, that was one thing. Bye for now.